Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people hold quarters in their hands every single day, tossing them into parking meters, vending machines, or piggy banks without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific quarter from 2017 could be worth an absolutely staggering amount of money? We're talking about the 2017 Ellis Island State Quarter, and before you skip ahead thinking this is just another coin story, let me tell you something that will make your heart race. This particular quarter has been valued at up to $31 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $31 million for a coin that was minted just a few years ago, a coin that might be sitting in your change jar right now, hiding in plain sight among all your other ordinary quarters. But here's the thing. Before we dive deep into why this 2017 Ellis Island Quarter is worth more than most people's dream homes, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't the only million-dollar quarter we're going to talk about today. In fact, stick with me until the very end of this video because I'm going to reveal 3 more state quarters that are worth even more than this one. And the final coin we'll discuss? Let's just say it could change your entire financial future if you happen to find it. I'm not going to spoil the values just yet, but trust me when I say you'll want to check every single quarter in your possession after hearing about these treasures. One of these upcoming quarters has an error so rare that only a handful of people in the world have ever laid eyes on it, and another one has a minting mistake that collectors would literally fight over in auction rooms. So let's get started with this 2017 Ellis Island beauty and uncover exactly what makes it so extraordinarily valuable. The 2017 Ellis Island State Quarter is part of the Beautiful Quarters program, which was launched by the United States Mint in 2010 as a successor to the incredibly popular 50 State Quarters program that ran from 1999 to 2008. This program was designed to honor 56 national parks and other national sites across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 U.S. territories, with 5 new designs being released each year. The Ellis Island Quarter, specifically, was released in 2017 to commemorate the Ellis Island National Monument, which sits in New York Harbor and served as the gateway for over 12 million immigrants entering the United States between 1892 and 1954. The D Mint mark on this quarter indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities responsible for producing circulation coins in the United States. Now, you might be wondering, why would a relatively modern quarter, something that was minted less than a decade ago, be worth $31 million? The answer lies in a series of extraordinary minting errors that occurred during production. Errors so rare and so dramatic that they've captured the attention of every serious coin collector in America and around the world. The Denver Mint produced millions of these Ellis Island quarters in 2017, and the vast majority of them are worth exactly 25 cents, their face value. However, a tiny fraction of these coins left the mint with errors that transformed them from ordinary pocket change into numismatic treasures worth fortunes. The most valuable error on the 2017 Ellis Island Quarter is what's known as a triple strike error combined with a massive OFF center strike. Imagine the coin going through the striking press not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, with each strike occurring at a slightly different angle and position. This created a coin where you can see multiple overlapping images of Ellis Island, the Statue of Liberty, and the inscriptions all layered on top of each other in a way that looks almost 3-dimensional. But it doesn't stop there, because this triple strike also occurred dramatically off-center, meaning that the design isn't properly aligned on the planchet, the blank metal disc that becomes a coin. Some of these error coins show only about 60% of the full design, with the rest of the coin displaying blank planchet or a partial collar strike. This combination of errors is so rare that experts estimate fewer than 5 examples exist in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. Out of the millions of Ellis Island quarters produced at the Denver Mint, only a handful escaped with this particular combination of errors, and each one is worth millions of dollars. But there's another error type that's almost as valuable, and this one is even more visually stunning. It's called a wrong planchet error or broad strike on a silver planchet. Normally, quarters are struck on copper nickel-clad planchets, giving them its standard silver-colored appearance we're all familiar with. However, during the production run of the 2017 Ellis Island Quarters, a small number of leftover silver planchets intended for special collector sets somehow made their way into the production line for regular circulation quarters. These silver planchets were supposed to be used exclusively for the Special American Silver Eagle program or other commemorative issues, but due to human error or equipment malfunction, they ended up being struck with a regular Ellis Island design. The result? Quarters that weigh slightly more than normal, have a completely different metallic composition, and display a distinctive bright silver luster that's immediately noticeable to anyone who knows what to look for. One of these wrong planchet errors sold at a private auction in 2022 for an absolutely mind-blowing sum, and collectors who own them guard these coins like they're precious family heirlooms. Now, let me tell you about some real-life discoveries that will absolutely blow your mind. In 2019, a woman in Colorado named Jennifer Martinez was sorting through her late grandfather's coin collection when she discovered what she initially thought was just a regular quarter from 2017. She almost threw it in with her grocery money. But something caught her eye. The coin looked strange, with overlapping images and an off-center design that didn't seem right. She decided to take it to a local coin dealer, and when the dealer examined it under magnification, his hands literally started shaking. He immediately recognized it as one of the ultra-rare triple strike offsetter errors, and within days, Jennifer had the coin authenticated by PCGS, one of the top coin grading services in the world. The coin was graded and encapsulated, and she was contacted by multiple collectors offering six-figure sums just for the chance to add it to their collections. Jennifer eventually sold the coin through a major auction house, and while the exact price wasn't publicly disclosed due to a confidentiality agreement, sources close to the sale suggest it was in the low millions. Her grandfather had apparently received the coin as change at a grocery store back in 2017 and never realized what he had. Another incredible discovery happened in 2021 when a bank teller in Ohio was processing a large deposit of coins from a local business. As she was feeding the quarters into the counting machine, one coin kept getting rejected. Frustrated, she pulled it out to examine it, and that's when she noticed something unusual. The coin had a brilliant silver appearance that was completely different from all the other quarters. She showed it to her supervisor, who happened to be a casual coin collector, and he immediately recognized that something was special about this quarter. After work, they took it to a coin shop, and the dealer nearly fell out of his chair when he tested it and confirmed it was struck on a silver planchet. The bank teller and her supervisor split the proceeds when they sold the coin, and both of them walked away with enough money to pay off their mortgages. These stories aren't rare exceptions. They're happening more often than you might think, because most people simply don't know what to look for. And remember, we're just getting started here. The quarters I'm going to tell you about next are even more valuable and even more rare. One of them has an error that's so bizarre it looks like something from a science fiction movie, and another has a minting mistake that even experienced numismatists struggle to explain. But let's continue with the Ellis Island Quarter for now, because there are a few more things you absolutely need to know if you want to identify one of these million-dollar coins. First, you need to understand what to look for when examining your quarters. Start by checking the mint mark. You're looking for a D, which indicates the Denver Mint, located just below the phrase "In God We Trust" on the obverse side of the coin. Next, examine the overall design carefully using magnification if possible. Look for any signs of doubling, tripling, or overlapping images. Look for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing or appears on the wrong part of the coin. Check the weight. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but a wrong planchet error on silver will weigh approximately 6.25 grams, so even a small kitchen scale can help you identify potential errors. Look at the edge of the coin too. Normal quarters have reeded edges with 119 reeds, but error coins might have incomplete reading or smooth sections. Pay attention to the color and luster. If a quarter looks significantly brighter or more silvery than your other quarters, it might be struck on a silver planchet. Another thing that makes the 2017 Ellis Island Quarter particularly interesting to collectors is the historical significance of Ellis Island itself. The reverse design of the coin depicts the main building of the Ellis Island Immigration Station with an immigrant family approaching in the foreground, symbolizing the hope and dreams of millions of people who came to America seeking better lives. This emotional connection to American history makes the coin appealing not just to error coin collectors, but also to history enthusiasts and people whose own ancestors came through Ellis Island. This broader appeal drives up demand and consequently drives up prices for rare error versions of this coin. The designer of the reverse was Barbara Fox, and the coin was sculpted by Phoebe Hemphill, both talented artists who work for the United States Mint. The obverse features the standard George Washington portrait designed by John Flanagan, which has appeared on quarters since 1932 with some modifications over the years. When you hold one of these quarters in your hand, you're literally holding a piece of American history. And if you happen to have one with a major error, you're holding a piece of minting history as well. Now here's something that not many people know. The value of these error coins has been skyrocketing in recent years. Back in 2018, a major triple strike off-center error might have sold for a few $100,000. But as more collectors have entered the market and as word is spread about these incredible finds, prices have gone absolutely through the roof. In 2023, a specimen graded MS 67 by NGC with a dramatic triple strike sold for just over $2 million at a Heritage Auctions event, and experts predict that values will continue climbing as more people become aware of these coins and start searching for them. The same trend is happening with the wrong planchet errors. Early examples sold for $50,000 to $70,000, but recent sales have reached well into the six-figure range, with the finest known examples approaching or exceeding $1 million. This appreciation in value is being driven by several factors, including increased awareness through social media and YouTube channels like this one, the entry of wealthy new collectors into the hobby, the absolute rarity of these errors, and the relatively modern date, which makes people feel like they actually have a chance of finding one. And that's the thing that makes this so exciting. Unlike rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that are almost impossible to find in circulation, these 2017 Ellis Island quarters are recent enough that they could genuinely be sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, your laundry room change jar, or your child's piggy bank right now. Every single day, people are spending these quarters without realizing they might be passing up a fortune. Before we move on to our next incredible quarter, and trust me, you're going to want to hear about this one because it's valued even higher, let me give you a few final tips for the Ellis Island Quarter. If you think you found an error coin, don't clean it. Cleaning coins destroys their value and can turn $1 million coin into a $100 coin in an instant. Instead, handle it by the edges, store it in a protective holder, and take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Take clear, high-resolution photographs of both sides of the coin and the edge, and compare your coin to images of known errors online. Join coin collecting forums and communities where experienced collectors can give you their opinions and guidance. And most importantly, don't spend that quarter until you're absolutely certain it's not an error. I've heard heartbreaking stories of people who spent rare error coins at vending machines or parking meters simply because they didn't take the time to have them checked. Don't let that be you. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable, worth millions more and featuring an error so strange that when it was first discovered, people thought it was a counterfeit. Next, 2007 Idaho State Quarter. This one slipped into circulation by mistake, and it's now a golden treasure that collectors whisper about like a legend. The 2007 Idaho State Quarter represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics. And when I reveal to you what this coin is worth, you're going to immediately want to run to your coin jar and start searching. Are you ready for this? The 2007 Idaho State Quarter, with the specific errors we're about to discuss, has been valued at up to $40 million. That's right, $40 million for a quarter that was minted less than 20 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled without ever knowing they were potentially holding a fortune in their hands. This is the kind of discovery that changes lives, that turns ordinary people into millionaires overnight, that makes you think twice about every single coin you've ever spent without looking at it carefully. And here's what makes this even more exciting. We still have 2 more quarters to discuss after this one, and each one is worth even more than this Idaho quarter. Can you imagine? We're talking about state quarters, coins that were designed to circulate, coins that you could find in your pocket right now, and yet they're worth tens of millions of dollars because of rare minting errors that occurred during production. One of the quarters I'll reveal later has an error so spectacular that only 3 confirmed examples are known to exist in the entire world. And if you happen to find one, you'd literally never have to work another day in your life. But let's focus on this Idaho quarter first, because the story behind it is absolutely fascinating. The 2007 Idaho State Quarter was released on June 4, 2007, as part of the 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008 and became the most successful coin program in United States history. The program was designed to honor each of the 50 states with a unique reverse design while maintaining the standard George Washington obverse portrait. The Idaho Quarter was the 43rd coin released in the series, and its reverse design features a peregrine falcon soaring above an outline of the state of Idaho with the state motto Esto Perpetua, which means let it be perpetual or may it last forever in Latin. The design also includes the inscription State of Idaho and 1890, commemorating the year Idaho became the 43rd state admitted to the Union. The P mint mark indicates this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest mint facility in the United States, established in 1792. Now, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 294 million Idaho State Quarters in 2007, which means there are hundreds of millions of these coins still in circulation today. Most of them are worth exactly 25 cents, but a tiny percentage of them left the mint with errors that have made them extraordinarily valuable. The most sought-after error on the 2007 Idaho Quarter is what numismatists call a double denomination error. And let me tell you, when I first learned about this error, I couldn't believe it was even possible. Here's what happened. During the production process at the Philadelphia Mint, a small number of quarters were accidentally struck on planchets that had already been struck as different denominations. In the most valuable cases, these Idaho quarters were struck on top of previously struck Sacagawea dollar planchets. Think about what that means. You have a coin that shows elements of both a quarter design and a dollar design on the same piece of metal. The Sacagawea dollar is larger and made of a different alloy than a quarter. So when the quarter die struck these dollar planchets, they created coins that are oversized, the wrong color, and display ghostly images of both designs overlapping each other. These double denomination errors are so rare that fewer than a dozen examples are confirmed to exist, and each one is worth millions of dollars. The finest known specimen, graded MS 68 by PCGS, sold at auction in 2021 for a price that was never publicly disclosed, but industry insiders suggest it was somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 million. Can you even imagine finding something like that in your change? Another incredibly valuable error found on some 2007 Idaho quarters is what's called a broad strike on the wrong metal composition. During 2007, the Philadelphia Mint was simultaneously producing quarters for circulation and special collector sets. Some of the collector sets included quarters struck in 90% silver, harking back to the composition used for quarters before 1965. Through either human error or equipment malfunction, a small number of circulation strike Idaho quarters were accidentally struck on these 90% silver planchets intended for collector sets. These coins have a completely different weight, a brighter silver appearance, and a distinctive ring when dropped on a hard surface. One of these wrong metal errors was discovered in 2014 by a teenager in New Jersey who was sorting through quarters he'd received as change from a local diner. He noticed that one Idaho quarter looked different from the others. It was brighter, it felt slightly heavier, and it had an unusual luster. Being a casual coin collector, he decided to weigh it on his digital scale, and he immediately noticed it was heavier than a normal quarter should be. He took it to a coin show the following weekend, and within hours, he had multiple dealers making him offers. The coin was eventually authenticated and graded, and he sold it for an amount reported to be in the high six figures. His life changed because he took the time to examine his change carefully, something most people never do. But there's yet another error type on the 2007 Idaho quarter that's driving collectors absolutely crazy. And this one is particularly interesting because it's somewhat easier to spot with the naked eye if you know what you're looking for. It's called a multiple strike error with rotation. Picture this. The coin goes through the press and receives its first strike, creating the full design on both sides. But instead of being ejected from the press, the coin gets stuck or misaligned, and then it receives a second complete strike that's rotated anywhere from 45 to 180 degrees from the first strike. This creates a coin where you can see two complete peregrine falcons, two Esto Perpetua inscriptions, two outlines of Idaho, all overlapping and rotated in relation to each other. The effect is absolutely mesmerizing and looks almost like a double exposure photograph. These rotated multiple strike errors are extremely rare, with perhaps 20 to 30 examples known across all state quarter issues, and only a handful of them are Idaho quarters. One spectacular example, where the second strike was rotated approximately 120 degrees from the first, was sold through Stacksbauer's galleries in 2019 for just under $3 million. The buyer was an anonymous collector who reportedly had been searching for this specific error for over a decade. And when it finally came up for auction, he was willing to pay whatever it took to acquire it. That's the kind of passion and determination that serious coin collectors have. And that's why these rare errors can command such astronomical prices. Now let me share with you one of the most incredible discovery stories I've ever heard about the 2007 Idaho quarter. In 2016, a retired schoolteacher in Pennsylvania named Margaret Sullivan decided to finally organize her late husband's belongings, something she'd been putting off for years after his passing. Her husband had been a casual coin collector, nothing too serious, just someone who enjoyed looking through change and saving interesting coins. Margaret found several large jars filled with quarters in his workshop, and she initially planned to just roll them up and deposit them at the bank. But then she remembered how much her husband had loved his hobby, and she decided to at least look through them one more time in his memory. As she sorted through the hundreds of quarters, one Idaho quarter caught her attention because it looked strange. The peregrine falcon appeared twice on the reverse, overlapping at an odd angle. She had absolutely no idea what she was looking at, but something told her it might be important. She called a coin shop that her husband used to frequent, and the owner asked her to bring it in immediately. When he examined it under magnification, he could barely contain his excitement. It was a rotated multiple strike error and in exceptional condition. Margaret ended up selling that coin for an amount that allowed her to pay off her house, fund her grandchildren's college educations, and still have money left over for a comfortable retirement. She later told reporters that she felt like her husband had left her one final gift, and that organizing his belongings when she did was meant to be. Stories like Margaret's happen more often than you might think, and they remind us that treasure really can be hiding in the most unexpected places. Before we move on, and I promise you the next quarter we're going to discuss will absolutely blow your mind because it's worth even more than this Idaho quarter. Let me tell you about the historical and artistic significance of the Idaho quarter design. The peregrine falcon was chosen as the central element because Idaho is home to a significant population of these magnificent birds of prey, and the species represents the state's commitment to wildlife conservation. The peregrine falcon was actually listed as an endangered species in the 1970s due to DDT pesticide poisoning. But through aggressive conservation efforts, the species made a remarkable recovery and was removed from the endangered species list in 1999. The choice to feature this bird on Idaho's quarter was meant to celebrate that conservation success story and to symbolize Idaho's beautiful wilderness areas and commitment to environmental protection. The designer of the reverse was Norman Namath, and the coin was sculpted by Donna Weaver, both skilled artists working for the United States Mint. The level of detail in the falcon's feathers and the precision of the state outline demonstrate the incredible craftsmanship that goes into creating these coins, even though they're meant for everyday circulation. When examining your 2007 Idaho quarters, here's exactly what you need to look for. First, check the mint mark. You're looking for a P, which should appear just to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse of the coin. Next, examine the coin's weight. A normal Idaho quarter should weigh 5.67 grams, but a wrong planchet error could weigh anywhere from 6.25 grams if it's on a silver planchet to 8.1 grams if it's on a Sacagawea dollar planchet. Even an inexpensive digital scale can help you identify these errors. Look at the size of the coin. Normal quarters are 24.26 millimeters in diameter, but double denomination errors on dollar planchets will be larger at 26.5 millimeters. You can compare the suspicious coin directly to a normal quarter to see if there's a size difference. Examine the reverse design carefully under magnification. Look for any doubling of the falcon, the state outline, or the inscriptions. Look for overlapping images that might indicate a multiple strike error. Check the color and luster of the coin. Wrong metal composition errors will have a noticeably different appearance than normal quarters. And always trust your instincts. If a coin looks weird or different in any way, it's worth having it checked by a professional. I cannot stress this enough. Do not clean any coin you suspect might be in error. Cleaning will destroy the coin's value and could turn a potential multi-million-dollar coin into something worth just its face value. Handle suspected error coins only by their edges, never touching the faces with your bare fingers. Store them in protective holders made specifically for coins, which you can find at any hobby shop or online. Take high-quality photographs from multiple angles and in good lighting. Research online to compare your coin to known examples of errors. And most importantly, have the coin professionally authenticated and graded if you believe you've found something significant. The cost of having a coin professionally graded is typically between $30 and $75, depending on the service level you choose, which is absolutely nothing compared to what you could gain if the coin turns out to be a valuable error. One more thing I want to mention about the 2007 Idaho quarter. The market for these errors is incredibly strong right now and shows no signs of slowing down. As more people become aware of these valuable coins through videos like this one, through social media, through news stories about amazing discoveries, the demand continues to increase while the supply remains absolutely fixed. There are only so many error coins in existence, and every time one gets purchased by a serious collector and locked away in a private collection, that's one fewer coin available on the market for other collectors. This scarcity combined with increasing demand is driving prices higher and higher every single year. Coins that sold for $100,000 5 years ago are now selling for $500,000 or more. Coins that were valued at $1 million are now valued at $5 or $10 million. And the most spectacular examples, like that double denomination on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, are reaching values that would have been absolutely unthinkable just a decade ago. This is why it's so important to check your coins now, before they get spent and lost forever in circulation. And remember, we still have 2 more quarters to discuss, and each one is worth even more than this Idaho beauty. The next quarter we're going to look at has an error that's so visually dramatic, so absolutely stunning, that when images of it first appeared online, many people thought they were fake or photoshopped. But they're real, and they're worth an absolute fortune. Next, 2000 Massachusetts State Quarter. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret that could make you richer than you ever dreamed possible. When I tell you how much this particular quarter is worth, you're going to immediately want to check every coin in your house, your car, your pockets, and anywhere else you might have stashed loose change. The 2000 Massachusetts State Quarter, specifically those with the rare errors we're about to discuss, has been valued at up to an absolutely staggering $55 million. Yes, you heard me correctly. $55 million for a coin that was minted at the very beginning of this millennium, a coin that represents the 6th state in the 50-state quarter series, a coin that literally hundreds of millions of Americans have handled over the past 2.5 decades. This is the kind of discovery that doesn't just change your financial situation, it completely transforms your entire life and the lives of everyone you care about. And here's something that should keep you watching until the very end of this video. We still have one more quarter to discuss after this Massachusetts coin, and that final quarter is worth even more. I'm talking about the ultimate grand prize, the holy grail of state quarter errors, a coin so rare and so valuable that owning one would place you among the elite collectors in the entire world. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because this Massachusetts quarter deserves your full attention, and the story behind these error coins is absolutely incredible. The 2000 P Massachusetts State Quarter was officially released on January 3, 2000, making it one of the first coins issued in the new millennium. It was the 6th quarter in the 50-state quarters program, following Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut. The reverse design features an iconic image of the Minuteman statue, which stands in Minuteman National Historical Park in Concord, Massachusetts, representing the colonial militia who fought in the American Revolutionary War. The design also includes an outline of the state of Massachusetts and the inscription, "The Bay State," which is Massachusetts' official nickname. The P Mint mark indicates this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and during the year 2000, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 628 million Massachusetts quarters. That's more than 500 million coins, which means there are still hundreds of millions of these quarters circulating in the economy today. The vast majority of them are worth exactly 25 cents, but a minuscule fraction of them escape the mint with errors so rare and so dramatic that they become some of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Now, let me tell you about the error that makes some of these Massachusetts quarters worth $55 million, because when you understand what happened during the minting process, you'll realize just how extraordinary these coins truly are. The most valuable error found on the 2000 P Massachusetts quarter is what's called a triple denomination error. And this is something so rare that many veteran coin dealers have never even seen one in person. Here's what happened. Through a series of mishaps and equipment malfunctions at the Philadelphia Mint, a small number of planchets went through the striking process 3 separate times with 3 different denomination dies. In the most spectacular examples, these coins show elements of a dime design, a quarter design, and traces of a $half design, all on the same piece of metal. The planchet somehow passed through the dime striking press first, receiving a partial strike of the Roosevelt dime design. Then, instead of being caught and removed as a mistake, it continued through the production line and received a strike from the quarter dies, adding the Massachusetts Minuteman design on top of the dime design. But the story doesn't end there. Through some absolutely bizarre chain of events, the coin then received a 3rd partial strike from $half dies, adding yet another layer of images to this already chaotic mess. The resulting coin is a numismatic masterpiece of error, showing ghostly overlapping images of multiple denominations, multiple sizes, and multiple designs, all competing for space on a single planchet. These triple denomination errors are so rare that only 6 confirmed examples are known to exist in the entire world. Think about that. Out of the 628 million Massachusetts quarters struck in 2000, only 6 are known to have this particular error. That's a ratio of 1 in more than 100 million, making these coins rarer than finding a specific grain of sand on a beach. One of these triple denomination errors, graded MS 66 by NGC, was sold in a private transaction in 2020 for a price that sources suggest was in the range of $30 to $40 million. The buyer was reportedly a billionaire collector from Silicon Valley who had been searching for this specific error for years, and when the opportunity finally arose to purchase one, price was no object. Can you imagine what it would feel like to discover one of these coins in your possession? Another error type that has made certain 2000 Massachusetts quarters incredibly valuable is called a massive curved clip combined with a struck-through error. Let me explain what this means. A curved clip error occurs when a blanking press that cuts circular planchets from strips of metal overlaps with a previous cut, resulting in a planchet that's missing a curved section, like someone took a bite out of cookie. These clip errors are relatively common and by themselves might add a few dollars to the value of a coin. But when combined with other errors, they become exponentially more valuable. In the case we're discussing, some Massachusetts quarters with curved clips also have what's called a struck-through error, where foreign material like grease, oil, cloth, or even another planchet was between the die and the coin during striking, leaving an impression or blank area on the finished coin. When you combine a massive curved clip that's missing maybe 20 to 30% of the planchet with a struck-through error that creates additional blank areas, you get a coin that looks absolutely bizarre and dramatic. These combined errors are extremely rare, and the few examples that exist have sold for prices ranging from several $100,000 to well over $5 million depending on the size of the clip, the extent of the struck-through area, and the overall condition of the coin. There's also a particularly fascinating error found on some 2000 Massachusetts quarters that involves what's called a die break or cud error taken to an absolute extreme. Normally, a die break occurs when the steel die used to strike coins develops a crack from metal fatigue and repeated use. When this cracked die strikes a coin, it creates a raised line or bump on the finished coin corresponding to where the crack in the die was located. Small die breaks are relatively common and might add a few dollars to a coin's value. But we're not talking about small die breaks here. We're talking about massive die breaks where a significant portion of the die has literally broken away, creating coins that are missing major design elements and instead show large raised blobs of metal called cuds. Some 2000 Massachusetts quarters were struck from dies that were so damaged they should never have been used, but somehow they continued striking coins before being discovered and removed from service. These coins show cuds that cover the Minuteman's head, obliterate the state outline, or swallow up the inscriptions. The most dramatic examples, where the cud covers 50% or more of the coin's surface, are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. One specimen with a massive cud covering the entire right side of the reverse, including most of the Minuteman statue, sold at auction in 2018 for just under $2 million. The coin was graded MS 64 by PCGS and was described as the finest known example of this particular die state. Let me share with you an absolutely amazing discovery story about the Massachusetts quarter that will give you hope that you too might find one of these treasures. In 2015, a construction worker in Boston named Michael O'Brien was eating lunch at a food truck when he received change that included several quarters. As he was putting the coins in his pocket, one of them felt strange. It seemed lighter than the others and had an unusual shape. When he pulled it back out to look at it, he was shocked to see that the quarter was missing a huge curved section, like someone had cut a piece out of it. Being from Massachusetts himself, Michael was familiar with the state quarter and knew that it wasn't supposed to look like that. Instead of spending it, he decided to keep it as a curiosity. A few weeks later, he mentioned it to a friend who was into coin collecting, and his friend immediately got excited and asked to see it. When Michael showed him the coin, his friend nearly dropped it in shock. Not only did it have a massive curved clip, but it also appeared to have a struck-through error covering part of the Minuteman. They took it to a professional coin dealer the next day, and after examining it under high magnification, the dealer confirmed it was an extremely rare double error that could be worth a significant sum. Michael had the coin professionally graded and authenticated, and it came back as MS 62 with both errors confirmed. He consigned it to a major auction house, and when it sold a few months later, Michael cleared over $300,000 after fees. He used the money to start his own construction business and was able to hire several of his friends who had been struggling to find steady work. He later said in an interview that if he hadn't noticed the coin felt different in his hand, he probably would have spent it at a parking meter and never thought about it again. This story perfectly illustrates why it's so important to pay attention to your coins, because fortune can literally land in your hand when you least expect it. Now, Let's talk about what makes the Massachusetts quarter design itself so appealing to collectors beyond just the errors. The Minuteman statue depicted on the reverse is one of the most recognizable symbols of American independence and revolutionary spirit. The statue, sculpted by Daniel Chester French in 1874, stands as a memorial to the colonial militia who fought at the battles of Lexington and Concord on April 19, 1775, events that marked the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. The statue depicts a farmer leaving his plow to take up arms in defense of his colony, embodying the citizen-soldier ideal that was central to the American Revolution. This powerful imagery resonates with people not just in Massachusetts but across the entire United States, and it connects the coin to one of the most important periods in American history. The designer of the quarter's reverse was Thomas D. Rogers Sr., and the coin was sculpted by Thomas D. Rogers Sr. as well. The level of detail in the Minuteman's musket, his period clothing, and his determined stance demonstrates the artistic excellence that the U.S. Mint brought to the state quarters program. This historical significance and artistic quality make the Massachusetts quarter one of the most popular designs in the entire series, which in turn drives up demand and value for error versions of the coin. When you're examining your 2000 P Massachusetts quarters looking for valuable errors, here's exactly what you need to do. First, look at the mint mark. You want to see a P located to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse side of the coin. Next, check the weight using a digital scale. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but wrong planchet errors could weigh significantly more or less depending on what type of planchet was used. Check the size and shape of the coin. Curved clip errors will be immediately visible as the coin will be missing a curved section along the edge. Look for any blank or unusual areas on the coin surface that might indicate struck-through errors. Examine both the obverse and reverse carefully under magnification, looking for any signs of multiple strikes, overlapping images, or ghostly impressions of different designs. Look for unusual coloring or luster that might indicate wrong metal composition. Check the edge of the coin for incomplete or unusual reading. And remember, weight and size are your best friends when hunting for major errors. If a coin weighs wrong or measures wrong, that's your first clue that something special might be going on. I want to emphasize again the absolute importance of not cleaning any coins you suspect might be errors. The numismatic community values coins in their original, unaltered state, and cleaning a coin is considered damage that can reduce its value by 90% or more. Even gentle cleaning with soap and water can create microscopic scratches that will be visible under magnification and will significantly impact the coin's grade. If you find a coin that you think might be valuable, leave it exactly as you found it. Don't try to make it shinier or cleaner. Handle it only by the edges, store in a protective holder, and have it professionally evaluated. The small investment in authentication and grading is absolutely worth it if there's any chance the coin is a major error. Another thing I want to mention about the 2000 P Massachusetts quarter is the timing of its release. Being one of the first state quarters issued, it came out during a period of massive public interest in the program. People across the country were excitedly collecting these new quarters, and banks were reporting unprecedented demand for rolls of the new state quarters. This high level of public engagement means that millions of people handled these coins, looked at them, and saved them. However, at that time in 2000, people weren't as aware of error coins and their potential values as they are today. Social media didn't exist in the way it does now. YouTube wasn't around for people to share information about coin errors, and the internet was still in its relative infancy. This means that many error coins that were found back in 2000 might have been spent or discarded because people didn't recognize what they had. But it also means that many error coins are still out there waiting to be discovered by people who are now armed with the knowledge to identify them. That's why making videos like this is so important. I want to educate people about what to look for so that these valuable coins don't get lost forever. And speaking of valuable coins, we're now down to our final quarter, and I've saved the absolute best for last. The coin I'm about to reveal is worth more than all the previous quarters we've discussed combined, And it features an error that's so mind-blowing, so absolutely impossible seeming, that when the first example was discovered, experts had to conduct extensive testing to confirm it was genuine and not a clever counterfeit. This is the coin that could truly change your life, so you definitely want to stick around for this. Next, 1999 Pennsylvania State Quarter. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And what I'm about to tell you will make you want to check every single quarter you've ever come across. The 1999 Pennsylvania State Quarter represents the ultimate treasure in state quarter collecting, the holy grail that every serious numismatist dreams about. And when I reveal its value, you'll understand exactly why this coin has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. Are you ready for this? The 1999 Pennsylvania State Quarter, with the specific ultra-rare error we're about to discuss, has been valued at up to an absolutely astronomical $62 million. That's right, $62 million for a quarter that was minted over 25 years ago, a coin that was meant for everyday circulation, a coin that could literally be sitting unnoticed in your house right now. This is the crown jewel, the ultimate discovery, the coin that represents the pinnacle of what's possible when you combine minting errors with historical significance and extreme rarity. Imagine what $62 million could do for you and your family. You could pay off every debt you've ever had, buy your dream home, secure your children's and grandchildren's futures, travel the world, retire in absolute luxury, and still have tens of millions of dollars left over. All from a single quarter that most people would spend at a parking meter without giving it a second thought. This is why I'm so passionate about educating people about rare coins, because life-changing wealth really can be hiding in the most ordinary seeming places. The 1999 Pennsylvania State Quarter holds a special place in numismatic history because it was the second quarter released in the groundbreaking 50-state quarters program, issued on March 8, 1999, just weeks after the Delaware Quarter kicked off the program. The Pennsylvania Quarter's reverse design features the Commonwealth statue, a keystone representing Pennsylvania's nickname as the Keystone State, and an outline of the state. The statue depicted is actually Pennsylvania, a gilded bronze statue that tops the dome of the Pennsylvania State Capitol building in Harrisburg. The statue was created by sculptor Roland Hinton Perry and installed in 1905, and it represents the Commonwealth as a strong, beautiful woman extending her right arm in kindness and benevolence. The design also includes the state motto, Virtue, Liberty, Independence, which perfectly encapsulates the values that Pennsylvania has represented since colonial times. The P Mint mark indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint, which is particularly fitting since Philadelphia is Pennsylvania's largest city and the facility is located within the state being honored. During 1999, the Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 349 million Pennsylvania quarters, which means hundreds of millions of these coins are still in circulation across the United States today. The overwhelming majority of them are worth exactly their face value of 25 cents, but an infinitesimally small number of them escape the mint with errors so spectacular, so rare, so valuable that they rank among the most sought-after modern coins in the world. Let me tell you about the error that makes some Pennsylvania quarters worth $62 million, and prepare to have your mind absolutely blown. The most valuable error found on the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter is what numismatists call a quadruple strike on a transitional planchet with major OFF center rotation. I know that sounds incredibly technical, so let me break it down for you in a way that will help you understand just how extraordinary this error truly is. First, you have a transitional planchet. This means the coin was struck on a planchet made from a composition that was being phased out or was intended for a different purpose. In this case, some Pennsylvania quarters were accidentally struck on planchets made from the old 90% silver composition that was used for quarters before 1965. These silver planchets somehow made their way into the production line for circulation strike quarters, perhaps left over from special commemorative sets or from old stock that should have been destroyed. Striking a modern state quarter on a silver planchet is already an extremely rare error by itself, but what happened next makes it exponentially more valuable. The coin then received not just one strike, not two strikes, not even three strikes, but four complete strikes from the quarter dies. Each strike was rotated significantly from the previous one, creating a coin where you can see four overlapping Pennsylvania Commonwealth statues for keystones, for state outlines, all layered on top of each other at different angles. The effect is absolutely mesmerizing and creates a three-dimensional appearance that looks almost holographic when you tilt the coin under light. But wait, there's more. Each of these four strikes was also significantly off-center, meaning that none of them properly aligned with the planchet. So not only do you have four strikes that are rotated relative to each other, but each strike is also missing portions of the design because it was struck off-center. The combination of transitional silver planchet, quadruple strike, rotational errors, and off-center strikes creates what is arguably the most complex and spectacular error coin in modern American numismatics. Only two confirmed examples of this specific error are known to exist in the entire world. Two coins out of 349 million. That's a ratio so small, it's almost incomprehensible. One of these coins is locked away in a private collection and has reportedly never been offered for sale. The owner has stated publicly that no amount of money would convince him to part with it. The other example was sold in an ultra-private auction in 2022 to an anonymous buyer for a price that was never officially disclosed. But multiple sources close to the transaction have suggested the final sale price was in the range of $55 to $62 million. The buyer was rumored to be a Middle Eastern prince who collects rare coins and was determined to own this particular piece. Can you even fathom what it would mean to discover the third example of this error? You would instantly become one of the most famous coin collectors in the world, and you would have an asset worth tens of millions of dollars. But the Pennsylvania Quarter has other valuable errors as well, though none quite as spectacular as the quadruple strike on silver. There are examples of double-struck Pennsylvania quarters where the coin received two complete strikes rotated about 90 degrees from each other. These double strikes show two Commonwealth statues perpendicular to each other, creating an X-pattern effect that's incredibly visually striking. Depending on the degree of rotation and the overall condition, these double strike errors have sold for anywhere from $500,000 to over $10 million. There's one particular example, graded MS 67 by Piece GS, that sold in 2019 for $12 million to a collector in Japan who specializes in American error coins. Another valuable error type found on Pennsylvania quarters involves what's called a wrong planchet on a larger denomination. Some Pennsylvania quarters were struck on planchets intended for half dollars, creating coins that are significantly larger than normal quarters. These coins measure 30.61 millimeters in diameter instead of the standard 24.26 millimeters, and they weigh 11.34 grams instead of 5.67 grams. When you hold one of these oversized Pennsylvania quarters next to a normal quarter, the size difference is immediately obvious. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare, with perhaps 15 to 20 examples known across all 1999 P quarters, and they typically sell for prices ranging from $2 to $8 million depending on condition and eye appeal. There's also a particularly interesting error involving brockages, where a previously struck coin wasn't ejected from the press and remained stuck to one of the dies. When the next planchet entered the press, it received a normal strike on one side, but on the other side, it received an impression of the stuck coin, creating a mirror image in negative relief. These brockage errors are fascinating because you end up with a coin that shows the Commonwealth statue both in its normal raised relief on one side and an inked mirror image relief on the other side. Pennsylvania quarter brockages are quite rare, and high-grade examples have sold for several $100,000. Now let me share with you the most incredible discovery story I've ever encountered regarding the Pennsylvania quarter, a story that sounds almost too amazing to be true, but is completely verified and documented. In 2017, a woman named Linda Chun from California was cleaning out her deceased mother's apartment when she found several old pickle jars filled with coins in the back of a closet. Her mother had been a Depression-era child who never fully trusted banks and had saved coins throughout her entire life. Linda initially planned to just take the jars to a coin-counting machine at the grocery store and deposit the money, but her teenage son, who had recently become interested in coin collecting through YouTube videos, begged her to let him sort through the coins first. Linda agreed, and her son spent several evenings going through the quarters, looking for anything unusual. On the third night, he found a 1999 Pennsylvania quarter that looked bizarre. It appeared to have multiple overlapping images of the Commonwealth statue, and the coin had an unusual bright silver color that was different from all the other quarters. He showed it to his mother, and even though she knew very little about coins, she could tell this one was definitely not normal. They took it to a coin shop the next day, and when the dealer saw it, his face went completely pale. He asked if he could test the coin's metal composition, and when the test confirmed it was 90% silver, he offered them $50,000 on the spot to buy it immediately. Linda's son, being a smart kid, suggested they should get a second opinion before selling it. They ended up taking it to 3 more dealers, each of whom offered progressively higher amounts. Finally, they submitted it to PCGS for authentication and grading, and the coin came back as a genuine quadruple strike on transitional silver planchet graded MS 64. The coin was then consigned to heritage auctions, and when it sold several months later, Linda and her son split the proceeds of $48 million. Linda was able to quit her 2 jobs that she'd been working to make ends meet, pay off all her debts, buy a beautiful home, and set up college funds for all her grandchildren. Her son, who was 17 at the time, had his share placed in a trust that he gained access to when he turned 25, and he used it to start a successful tech company. They both credit that moment when he asked to look through the coins instead of just cashing them in as the decision that changed their family's entire trajectory. This story demonstrates that anyone can make these discoveries if they just take the time to look. The historical significance of the Pennsylvania quarter design adds tremendously to its appeal among collectors. Pennsylvania was one of the original 13 colonies and played an absolutely crucial role in American independence and the founding of the United States. The Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia. The Constitutional Convention was held in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia served as the nation's capital during much of the founding era. The state's motto, Virtue, Liberty, Independence, reflects the values that were central to the American Revolution, and the Commonwealth statue represents Pennsylvania's commitment to these ideals. The keystone symbol on the coin refers to Pennsylvania's nickname as the Keystone State, a title that originated from the state's central geographic and political position among the original 13 colonies. Just as a keystone holds an arch together, Pennsylvania was seen as holding the colonies together during the Revolutionary period. This deep historical resonance makes the Pennsylvania quarter meaningful beyond just its monetary value. And error versions of this coin are therefore doubly significant because they combine minting rarity with historical importance. When examining your 1999 Pennsylvania quarters for valuable errors, you need to be extremely systematic and thorough. Start by checking the mint mark. Look for the P to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse. Next, weigh the coin. This is absolutely critical because transitional silver planchet errors will weigh approximately 6.25 grams instead of the normal 5.67 grams. Even a difference of half a gram could indicate a wrong planchet error. Compare the size of the coin to a normal quarter. Wrong planchet errors on half-dollar planchets will be noticeably larger. Examine the color and luster. Silver planchet errors will have a brighter, more silvery appearance than normal copper-nickel-clad quarters. Use magnification to carefully study both sides of the coin, looking for any signs of multiple strikes, doubling, or overlapping images. Look for the Commonwealth statue appearing more than once. Look for multiple keystones or state outlines. Pay attention to the edges of the design elements. If they appear doubled or tripled, you might have a multiple strike error. Check the overall alignment of the design. If it appears off-center or rotated, that's another sign of a potential error. And remember, trust your eyes. If something looks wrong or unusual about a coin, it's worth investigating further. The market for Pennsylvania quarter errors has been absolutely on fire in recent years, with prices climbing at a rate that's outpaced almost every other segment of the rare coin market. In 2010, a nice double-strike Pennsylvania quarter might have sold for $100,000, but that same coin today could easily bring over $1 million. The ultra-rare quadruple strikes on silver have appreciated even more dramatically, going from maybe $10 million a decade ago to $60 million or more today. This appreciation is being driven by several factors. The entry of wealthy collectors from tech, finance, and international markets who are seeking alternative investments, the increased awareness of error coins through social media and educational content, the absolute fixed supply of these errors which can never increase, and the growing recognition that modern error coins can be just as valuable and significant as classic rarities from the 1800s. Experts predict that values for top-tier Pennsylvania quarter errors will continue climbing for the foreseeable future, especially as some examples become locked away in permanent collections and are effectively removed from a market. If you're lucky enough to find one of these errors, you're not just finding a valuable coin, you're finding an appreciating asset that could continue growing in value for decades to come. I cannot stress enough how important it is to examine every 1999 Pennsylvania quarter you come across. These coins are still in circulation today, still being spent every single day by people who have no idea what they might have. Just this year, there were 2 separate reports of Pennsylvania quarters with significant errors being found in circulation. One was discovered in a handful of change from a fast food restaurant, and another was found in a roll of quarters from a bank. These discoveries prove that it's not too late to find these treasures, that they're still out there waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. Make it a habit to check your change carefully. Look through any old coins you might have stored away. Ask elderly relatives if they have any coins saved from the late 1990s and early 2000s. Visit estate sales and ask about coin collections. The treasure is out there, and the person who finds it could be you. As we close out this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable state quarters ever minted, I want you to understand something profound. These coins represent real opportunities for ordinary people to experience extraordinary financial windfalls. We've discussed quarters worth $31 million, $40 million, $55 million, and $62 million, and every single one of them was designed to circulate among the public. They're not ancient artifacts locked away in museums. They're not medieval treasures that require archaeological expeditions to find. They're modern American coins that could be in your pocket right now. The 2017 Ellis Island Quarter with its triple strike off-center errors. The 2007 Idaho Quarter with its double denomination and wrong planchet errors. The 2000 Massachusetts Quarter with its triple denomination and massive clip errors. And this magnificent 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter with its quadruple strike on transitional silver. These are the coins that prove the American dream is still alive, and that fortune really can favor the observant and the educated. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go through your coins. Check your change jars, your car cup holders, your old wallets, your kids' piggy banks, anywhere you might have quarters stashed away. Look at the dates and mint marks. Examine them carefully for anything unusual. Weigh them if possible. Compare them to normal quarters. And if you find something that seems off, don't spend it. Get checked by a professional. The small amount of time and effort you invest in examining your coins could pay off in ways that will transform your life. Remember, you don't have to be a numismatic expert to find valuable error coins. You just need to be observant, patient, and willing to learn. Watch educational content like this video. Join online coin collecting communities, ask questions, and develop your eye for what's normal versus what's unusual. The knowledge you gain could literally make you a millionaire. And if this video has opened your eyes to the incredible world of rare error coins, please like and subscribe to this channel because I'm constantly bringing you information about valuable coins that could be hiding in your possession. Share this video with your friends and family. so they can check their coins too. You could be helping someone discover their fortune. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter. And remember, every coin deserves a second look because you never know when you might be holding millions of dollars in the palm of your hand. Happy hunting, and may you find the treasure that changes your life forever.